Hello YouTube, my name's Nero, and today we use some Call of Duty Black Ops, the original Black Ops, and this is not one of those cheesed gameplays that you see some other YouTubers doing. So what a lot of people like to do sometimes, right, is they'll go back to a really old Call of Duty game and just dominate the people that play, because no good players still play the old games, you know, and they act like they're so great because of it. Oh no, here on NerosCinema, we are about top quality entertainment. This gameplay was recorded back during 2011. That's right, this gameplay was back all the way in 2011. I actually went back to an old video of mine that I had, that I basically just ripped the gameplay from it. What's interesting about the video that this gameplay was originally in was that video, even though it's been up for like 3 years or so, has like barely 2,000 views. So chances are anyone watching this video besides me has not actually seen this gameplay before. So I think that's kind of interesting. And the idea of using a really retrospective, like an old school style gameplay in a video like this just really kind of makes sense, because I want to talk to you guys today about remastering Call of Duty games within the Call of Duty franchise. Before we get into that, I just want to say real quick, a lot of people ask me, Nero, why do you have SB in your name? Are you part of the Spacebound Sniper team? Or are you part of the Strictly Business Competitive team? I tell people, I've actually mentioned a couple times on different episodes of Dear Nero, the reason SB is in my name was that was a team I started, like a clan, a group of people that I started back in, you know, late Modern Warfare 2, early Black Ops. And yeah, we used to always play together, and you'll see I'm in a full party of old SB members. So it's actually interesting, nobody here actually plays Call of Duty anymore. They just don't. I think SB Pidgey, this gameplay is actually my brother. That was his old gamer tag way back in the day. And yeah, so he's the only person that I still play with. That's because he's my brother. And so all these other people, you know, time catches up to you. As you get older, you know, you start a family, you get a job, you go to college, you know, eventually you don't have as much time for video games as you once did. And none of the people in here besides myself and my brother still play Call of Duty or still play video games in general. That's really kind of sad. And what's funny is it's going to happen to all of you. It's going to happen to all of you. I'm talking to you out there. Any of you guys out there that already have a group of people that you play with pretty consistently, oh no, that's gonna end one day. That will end one day, and you're gonna feel all kinds of sad and all kinds of nostalgia every time you think back towards it. But I guess that's one of the cool things about Call of Duty, I suppose. Today I want to talk to you guys about remastering Call of Duty, remastering these games, and if we can actually expect them. First and foremost, I would like to say I do think that there are going to be remastered or at least HD remakes of different Call of Duty games in the future. And one thing, I actually talked about this on my Let's Play channel, because there's going to be a remastered Borderlands edition coming out relatively soon, one would assume, for Borderlands and for that series. I made a video talking about that on my Let's Play channel, and I want to bring up the same point here in this video. There is a very, very, very distinct difference between an HD remake and a remastered game. So let's take the original Black Ops here as an example. If they were to go ahead and do an HD remake of this game, that basically all they would do is they would just update the graphics a little bit, make it 1080p, make it 60 frames per second, even though I already think it is 60 FPS, but make it full 1080p, make it look good on your Xbox Ones and your PlayStation 4s, and that's all they do. It's an HD remake. They're basically updating the graphics, making it so it's available on a new platform. A remastered game, they go back and they change around a lot of the things. To very big difference between these, very big difference. You know, and I can't believe I shot that guy through the ceiling. That was awesome. This gameplay is so cool. There's a very big difference though, right? So if they were to remaster the original Black Ops, perhaps they would go back and say, you know what? The kill streak setup in this game was kind of hard. If you wanted to get dogs, you need to get an 11 kill streak. That's tough. Let's make it so there's score streaks in this game now instead of just normal kill streaks. That's something they could do in a remastered game. Let's say they would say the gun balance was not exactly up to their liking. Maybe they would change around a lot of the guns to the point where the FAMAS was one of the worst guns in the game, and maybe some other random gun like I don't know, like the RPK LMG or something. Maybe they would make that stronger and just change around the way the game used to be played as compared to what would be played in the remastered edition. I don't like the idea of remastering. Just me personally, it's like, leave the game the way it was. If you want to nerf certain things, go for it. Like the FAMAS in this game still needs to be patched. It got a patch way back when, but it didn't really do anything to it. It was still ridiculously OP, right? Same thing goes for World of War's MP40. That gun just needs to be nerfed into the ground. It's so ridiculously powerful, right? So certain little things like that, like little tiny changes, like do an HD remake, but you rebalance out like the most OP gun in the game or something like that. I don't know. Do something along those lines. I would like for that to happen. But aside from that, I just basically would like an HD remake where they don't actually change things around a whole lot. Because let's face it, your first Call of Duty game is usually the game that you're going to compare other games to. Let's say you started out here in the original Black Ops. You may be thinking to yourself every time you play a new Call of Duty game how it compares to your original experience within Call of Duty. Now, this is something I'm definitely guilty of this. Whenever I play a new Call of Duty game, I always always compare it, especially the spawn system, to how it was in Call of Duty 4 and in World at War. And it usually doesn't end up being about the same. It's usually way more noob friendly. But still, that's how I always end up comparing it. Let's say you start off in the original Black Ops, and then you start playing Advanced Warfare, you start thinking to yourself, man, I like the kill streak stuff a bit more. Now everybody's able to get all these kill streaks because capturing flags gets you so many points towards your score streaks and stuff, you know. It's just all a matter of personal preference at that point, but I want to kind of hammer home the idea that no matter what, you're probably going to compare every new Call of Duty game to your first one. So everybody has their own personal preferences. Some people thought Call of Duty Ghosts was their first game, and that was their favorite one. Some people, Advanced Warfare was their first game, therefore to them it's the best one. For people like me, I started out in Call of Duty 4. There's people that started out in Call of Duty 2, or maybe Call of Duty 3. Maybe you started out in Modern Warfare 2, and so because of that, you think Modern Warfare 2 was the epitome, like the best Call of Duty game there ever was. And so the big question comes in is, which Call of Duty games do we actually go ahead and remaster? And it was kind of interesting because I feel bad for trying to exclude these people, but at the exact same time, I really feel as though they probably should just be excluded unless they were to do a full remastering. But Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3, one, did not sell very well, and two, were just anywhere near like what Call of Duty is today. What made Call of Duty what it is today was actually Call of Duty 4 with all the revolutionary things they did with that game. But Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3, man, did you like create classes? Because they aren't in those games. There's pre-built classes for you. You know, they're just, the games themselves were there was no kill streaks. There was really nothing to those games. There was no create class, no kill streaks, no perks, nothing. You had pre-built classes. You hopped into multiplayer and you shot at each other. That's really what you end up doing in Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3. And so I really don't feel as though they're actually going to go remaster them. One, from that standpoint where the games aren't even really that similar, but also from another standpoint where they actually did sell that well. So a lot of people actually didn't play Call of Duty 2 and Call of Duty 3. So I found this chart online. I can't be sure how accurate it is, I'm going to be honest. I found it on a website called Statistic Brain, so I don't really know how accurate it is. But if we can believe it in any way, it says that Call of Duty 2 sold 2.5 million copies, which is a decent amount, especially back during 2005. But then you go ahead and look at Call of Duty 3, which apparently a lot of people say was the worst Call of Duty game ever made. I didn't play it during its prime, so I can't comment on that. Like, I went back, like, as a retrospective idea, where I went back and played it, you know, back there in like 2011 or something like that is when I bought the game, or maybe I bought it during 2012 or something like that. I bought the game, went back and played just to see what it was like. But I didn't play it during its prime, so I can't say whether or not it was actually one of the worst Call of Duty games ever. But yeah, that game had a big hit in sales. It had almost about half the sales of Call of Duty 2. And then when Call of Duty 4 came out, that's when Call of Duty became Call of Duty. That's when they revolutionized everything. You look at the sales there, it had well over 13 million sales, and that's because of how revolutionary it was. See, before that, Call of Duty was kind of like the second game. It was just another game. Picture it like a Gears of War. Picture it like an Assassin's Creed. Like, it's a good game, but it wasn't the biggest game. At the time, Halo was the biggest game, but then when Call of Duty 4 came out, it brought with it perks and create classes and kill streaks and the prestige system and just everything that was great about that game. That's when Call of Duty became Call of Duty. That's when Halo started taking a backseat to Call of Duty, and that's when Call of Duty really kind of shot itself up into the mainstream. And I noticed that the gameplay itself is actually over right now. That's sad, because I have so much things I want to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some more gameplay for you guys. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the other gameplay. So I feel as though the first game that they would honestly remake would be Call of Duty 4. I really do feel as though that would be it. And I'm trying to look at this as objectively as possible. I'm trying not to look at it through rose-tinted glasses, because it was the first game I started on, therefore that's the game they should do first. But I'm just looking back at it, and I've gone back and I've played Call of Duty 2, and I've gone back and I've played Call of Duty 3, and they're just in no way similar to what Call of Duty 4 was, or World of War, or Modern Warfare 2, or any of the Call of Duty games that came after Call of Duty 4. They're in no way similar. They're far too primitive, and I really don't see them ever actually remastering those games, unless, of course, they were to go ahead and go back and they were to do some kind of crazy thing where they remaster the game, they add in create a class, they add in kill streaks, they throw everything together. It's like, okay, at that point, I'm in. That sounds interesting, but still, I just really don't feel as though they would actually remake Call of Duty 2 or Call of Duty 3. As sad as that is to say for those of you guys that actually started out on those games. But when will they do these remakes? By the way, everything here is just full predictions. This is all just speculation. This is me just basically talking my ass about this subject because it's something I really want to happen. And I have all these ideas for it, but in no way is any of this stuff confirmed. I'm just saying these are my ideas for it. So if they were to actually remake a Call of Duty game, I feel as though they would start it out with Call of Duty 4, right? I feel as though they start with that, and they would do it on the 10-year anniversary of Call of Duty 4. Now, keep in mind, Call of Duty 4 came out in 2007, so the 10-year anniversary would be in 2017 is when we could get get that. And here's my idea for it. I've actually came up with an entire chart for you guys. So I'm going to put it on your screen. This entire chart of how this could end up working perfectly. Right now, Call of Duty is a yearly game. We get a brand new game every year, and it's split between 3 developers. We have Sledgehammer Games, who came out with Advanced Warfare. Next year in 2015, we're going to have Treyarch and their brand new game. And in 2016, we're going to have Infinity Ward and their brand new game, right? So come 2017, when the 10-year anniversary of Call of Duty 4 comes out, that's when Sledgehammer is going to be set to make their new game. Now, no one, I'm going to go ahead and say it, nobody wants remastered games to take the place of new games, right? Everybody wants to play a new game. We're all excited whenever a new game comes out. There's in no way do we want to like take a couple years off of Call of Duty so we can remake some other ones, right? That just wouldn't be good for anybody. But here's my idea. Hear me out on this. What if about 6 months after the new Call of Duty game came out, a remake ended up coming out, right? Because you guys have played Call of Duty, right? By the 6-month point, you've done all there is to do. Chances are your max rank in the game, or at least close to it. Chances are you've used every gun, you know every map inside and out, and you're almost honestly getting kind of bored of the game a little bit, and you're kind of just waiting on DLC to keep relighting that fire that you have for Call of Duty, right? That's what Call of Duty is like 6 months in. That's what it's always been like, right? So what if, instead of just kind of like starting to play other games or starting to do just not play Call of Duty, or maybe, God forbid, go outside, what if instead of doing all that, they just released a remake Call of Duty at the 6-month mark of every Call of Duty game. So here's the chart I have for you guys here. Here's the chart I have for you guys. Now keep in mind, this is going with the idea that the first remake was actually going to come out roughly in 2017, or within that little bit of a time frame. So here we go. So November of 2017, that is when Sledgehammer Games actually goes ahead and releases their brand new game. That will be actually, in fact, that's actually true. That's when the next Sledgehammer Games Call of Duty game is going to be. Then 6 months later, in May of 2018, which it's in a different year, but keep in mind that's only 6 months later, that's when you release your COD 4 Remastered Edition. Then 6 months later, in November of 2018, that's when you release your brand new Treyarch game. Right? That's when the new Treyarch game ended up coming out. Then in May of 2019, you release your World at War Remastered Edition. Then in November of 2019, 6 months later, keep in mind, you have a new Infinity Ward game that actually comes out. You seen this? You seen how you basically get 2 different Call of Duty games every single year, and you're constantly getting overflown with content. When a brand new Call of Duty game actually ends up coming out, you play through it, you enjoy it, you have all kinds of fun with it and stuff like that, you know. But 6 months in, this brand new remake has actually come out, where they basically just update the graphics of these older Call of Duty games, and they actually put them out there for you guys to play, and you can go ahead and do that. Of course, you're not forced to buy this, you're not forced to go ahead and play it. Maybe you like the new Call of Duty game that came out that year, you can continue to go ahead and continue to play it if you would so like to, but I'm just saying, you have the choice there to really go with whatever you wanted. Now, if you go ahead and you continue down this line, once again, assuming of course that I did not actually do any of my stuff wrong, by May of 2026, we'll actually start remastering games that aren't even out yet. So if I go down this line and the formula stays the same, by May of 2026, that's when it'll be time to remaster Treyarch's game that's coming out in 2015. That hasn't even actually been released yet. So in theory, if they continued to make Call of Duty games, this seemingly would just kind of go on infinitely, to the point where you continue to get new games and you continue to get remastered games just forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And the cool part about it all is, right, some people say it's a lot of work for the developer. You don't want to take away assets from your developer or anything like that. Raven Software themselves is actually working on Call of Duty Online, the new Chinese Call of Duty game that's going out to China. They've been working on that. That's the beauty of it. A remake, like an HD remake with no real remastering done, just basically updating the graphics and porting it over to a new system, trying to make it so it runs 1080p 60. That's not hard. I don't know much about programming or anything like that, but that does not sound hard. That's something you could hire someone like Raven Software or other smaller studio to basically do that. So Treyarch themselves, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer, they're never actually working on these things. Basically, just other little developers are putting these things together, because all they really need to do is update the graphics. That's really all they need to do. So the newer Call of Duty games don't suffer at all. They still have their 3-year development cycle, and at the exact same time, we're also getting basically a new Call of Duty game every 6 months. That is my idea. That is what I think would be pretty freaking awesome. I think I talked about this idea before, but still, That's something I want to talk about because so many people are already tweeting to me because the entire idea of Black Ops 2, right? Because Black Ops 2 is so ridiculously popular. Every day, I'm not even kidding you, every day I get pictures sent to me on Twitter from people taking screen caps of the player count on Black Ops 2, and it's always well over 100,000, right? And so I've seen comments from people saying they should remaster Black Ops 2. I'm like, the game's 2 years old. How do you remaster a game that's 2 years old? It looks just about as good as the new games on the new consoles. Like, that game was gorgeous and great, right? You can't remaster it. That's way too soon. Way too soon. Just, oh man, just way too soon. You can't be doing that. You definitely can't be doing that. So I feel as though this entire system would actually end up working out pretty well. Now, of course, once again, like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, complete speculation, me talking on my ass, just stuff I think would actually work. I've laid out for you guys. It would work and it would be cool, but it's just a matter of will Activision do this kind of thing? Will they decide to do this? Probably not, because I know Activision doesn't watch my videos, but I just like to make Call of Duty videos and talk about different theories and talk about different stuff, and that's what I want to talk about today, was that entire idea, because that system itself works pretty freaking well, and I randomly just kind of came up with it today. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a rating where you guys feel to be deserves. And of course, this is something I always find interesting because everybody kind of starts Call of Duty at a different time. What Call of Duty game was your first, and what Call of Duty game was your favorite? All right, that's a good question. So for me, my first Call of Duty game I played was Call of Duty 4. My favorite Call of Duty game is honestly so ridiculously hard to choose, but it's between Call of Duty 4 and World at War. It's between those two. Those two are probably my favorite. Black Ops 2, though Black Ops 2, really close, really high up there. I think Black Ops 2 is one of the best Call of Duty games that's come out in many years. Definitely some good stuff there. So let me know about that in the comments. What Call of Duty game did you start on? What was your very first one? And keep in mind, if you like went to your friend's house and played their game for like 20 minutes, that doesn't count, right? Because like for me, I went and played like 20 minutes of Call of Duty 3 at my cousin's house, and then I got Call of Duty 4 later that year with my Xbox 360, so that doesn't count, right? What game was the first one you actually owned and you played in your first full experience within the Call of Duty franchise? And then what Call of Duty game do you believe is actually the best one of all? Let me know about that. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video, and if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.